which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll turn on my microphone so you can hear me. Sandy Fosdick is joining us on Zoom. Jackie was unable to make it. I have her stipulated proxy, and did Jan send a proxy? Jan Sims? No, okay. If she comes on Zoom, I'll let everybody know. Okay. First item is the approval of the minutes from October 27th, last month's regular board meeting. Who will make a motion to approve? Jerry? Second by JB. Are there any additions, corrections? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye or raise your hands. All approved? None against. Next is the November 10th work session last week. I hear a motion for that.
Second.
Jan and Jason. Any additions or corrections anybody found? All those in favor of approving those minutes? 8-0. Next up, the Joint Advisory Committee reports. First up is Lakes.
Lakes combined their November and December meeting, and so the meeting has not yet taken place. It takes place at the end of this month on the 30th, I think it is. And then I have the report for recreation. They talked about the importance of pickleball and the national trends and how it's one of the fastest growing sports in the United States with 4.8 million participants and 39% growth over the past 2 years. They also reported on Tyree Park. The new kayak storage rack is in place. They were pleased about that. At Reardon Hall Complex and Tennis courts 1 through 4 have long cracks that need to be worked on. They were a little concerned, but we do have that included in the 23 budget. Gun range, they were concerned about one of the racks for the rifles and felt that it needed to be replaced. At Tanya Creek, a large limb fell onto the side cable of the suspension bridge, and the POA is working with the volunteer group on that. Trails Greenway, the new road surface through Blowing Springs looks great. However, they are concerned about the high rate of speed that some of the cars are traveling in that area. New business motion was made and approved to approve an April adventure race. Also, a motion was made and approved for the Lake Avalon Kids Triathlon race in June. And then a motion was made to cancel the December meeting for the Recreation Committee, so they will meet again on January 9th at 4 p.m.
This old adage, no good deed goes unpunished.
So you fix the road and then people speed. So there was a reason. There was a reason it had those potholes in there. Next up is golf. Jeff?
Brief report. Dave Armstrong presented Charlie Paul, the captain of the Futures Blue Cup team, with the trophy for this year's tournament. Futures Cup. And excuse me, it's a 3-day event that started with 28 players 3 years ago with a commitment to growing the game of golf. They raised $2,000 the first year. They raised $5,000 last year and $5,000 again this year by increasing by over 50% their participants in the tournament. These generous donations are allocated to youth golf by supporting Operation 36. They will present a $5,000 check to Daryl, I believe, at this next golf committee meeting. And everybody loves youth golf and seeing that everybody get involved in it. Also, they expressed their gratitude to the golf ops team for their efforts in coordinating the event and making it go off without a hitch. Next item was divot repair tools are being distributed at Highlands Golf Course, courtesy of Friends of Highlands. It's kind of an experimental, see how it goes. We're also attaching a QR code zip tied to, so when you click on that, you get a quick video of, I believe it's Keith Ems, and maybe Daryl involved in it too, of how to properly repair a divot. The hopes to obviously promote education and awareness of the impact of the neglect and improperly repaired divots and what that does to our greens. Another item is Dave Armstrong and Gary Mertz presented a proposal of a Champions Club. The goal was to attract volunteer participation of members to keep carts on path. I believe it's from November through March, with the hopes of keeping the wear and tear down on the fairways. Everybody knows that plays golf how much damage that does, so we're hoping that'll be successful. But also hope that it could foster the expansion of other groups such as Friends of Highlands and Friends of Dogwood. Some courses don't have those groups, and hopefully if we can get more people volunteering involved and get a little good spirit about it, it'll help expand those as well. Any questions?
What's Operation 36?
So Daryl could explain that more than I can, but it's youth training they do. Jason could answer that too, I think. But
Yeah, I can jump in if you need me to, Jeff. So it's a program that came out a couple years ago where they teach from the green back to the tee box. So you start with your short game. You have to, there's achievements at each level. I don't know what they are. I don't know if they're score or how distance or whatever. So you start at the green, you make 5 putts in a row, then you move back to the next lesson, and then you move back and move back. So it's teaching it reverse of what the traditional way of teaching golf is, from the tee box the other way. And it's been very successful. I know there's some adults that are doing it too that absolutely love it.
the feedback's been real positive, and they just keep talking about the numbers keep growing, so that donation really is beneficial to it.
Really clever to put those QR codes.
I came up with that. I'm gonna
All
take credit for
right.
it. Yeah, we thought get them to watch the video. Maybe if you get a percentage of people, it helps.
That's brilliant.
Nobody's here to challenge that anyway. So
That's
take
right. I'm gonna
credit.
take credit for it. Anyway, thank you for your time and have a good evening.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Next up is the financial reports. I notice we have several guests in attendance this evening. If you plan to speak, which the open forum is right after the financial reports, please sign in by the little table where you come in the back door there. And that way we'll know who's talking to us, and maybe we'll have a chance of pronouncing your name correctly. So, financial reports. Tom?
So as custom is for November and December, since the meetings are earlier in the month, we won't have the financial reports for the month of October, but the September report the previous month is available on our website, so you can go and see the financial progress of the POA. September we had another very good month, and we're very optimistic once we get these reports. They will be posted on our website once they become available. And you'll hear the same story in December, because the meetings are moved forward because of the holidays, that we don't have enough time to get those done. So really no financial report, but go take a look at the September financials, and I think you'll be pleased with how we did.
Well, that didn't take long. Okay, next up is the open forum. Is there anybody who wanted to speak to the board? You have 3 minutes if you care to do that. Okay. Nobody? Now, the budget. Proposed 2023 budget and the 2023 fee schedule.
So first of all, last week at the work session, we spent a little over an hour going through the budget. So this is a highly edited version of the budget. If you want more information, please go onto our website. You can watch the entire video. You can get all the handouts that were given. Everything is available under the financial section of the POA's website. So we encourage you to do that. We're not going to go through the whole thing again, because we did that last week in the presentation to the community, and we welcomed the community to submit questions. We received some questions from people. In looking at the financial reports, and I'm going to really go through this. David challenged me to go through it as efficiently as possible. You'll notice that we've included the 21 actuals. We've included the trailing 12 actuals, which are September of 21 through August of 22. And then the 23 budget, and then the delta or the change between the trailing 12 and the 23 budget. So that whether you want to compare it to the 21 actuals or the trailing 12, it gives you a good barometer, or you could even go back to last year's financials. You can compare it to last year's budget if you wanted to. Couple big things, global issues. In the trailing 12, in January of 22, we have the $926,000 extraordinary expense. This was the sale of the cell tower lease. This is a non-recurring revenue item. So when you look at the trailing 12, it's going to be inflated by that dollar amount, and then you're going to look at the budget and go, well, why did we go down by that much? Well, that's going to be a big reason why. Also, income from the sale of lot sales has dropped quite a bit, $448,000. In that one, in some ways, we are a victim of our own success. We've really reduced the number of lots that are not in good standing, and we're running out of lots that we can sell, and so the revenue is just slowing down. In the trailing 12, we have $1.3 million in lot sales, which is outstanding. But we won't have that going forward because there's just the low-hanging fruit is gone. On a positive note, the assessment revenue is going to increase by $554,000. That is a combination of the assessment increase, but also we have the conversion of unimproved to improved lots. Over the last, year to date, we've had in excess of 530 lots just this year to date, go from unimproved to improved. So you're going to see the assessment increase go up because of that also. Do keep in mind the assessment increase is only for 10 months out of the 12 months because it kicks in March 1st. From a payroll point of view, this is really a very challenging report to give. Now the trailing 12 is a great way to compare against the most current actual numbers, but it is flawed. So in March of this year, we had an increase for our staff, but that only impacts the trailing 12 for 6 months. In July, we gave our staff a cost of living adjustment of 4%, but that's only impacting the trailing 12 by 2 months. And then we're proposing a 4% merit increase for our staff. Well, that's not in the trailing 12 at all. So really, if you compare against the trailing 12, you have a compounded comparison of 9.5%. So that's quite a bit. We need to stay competitive. If you go throughout all of Northwest Arkansas, you're going to see banners everywhere, help wanted signs everywhere, and it's impacting us. In some of our departments, we were down as much as 10% all year long. Now, in preparing the budget, we do budget, assuming that we're going to be 100% staffed. That's what we need to be at. When we're not 100% staffed, it definitely has a negative impact on customer service and on the quality of the product that we give. Keith Eames, our director of golf course maintenance, will be the first person to tell you, look, when we're down on staffing, the quality of the golf course is not where it's at, where it needs to be at, and that's reflective of everywhere, all departments. And then we have 2 new departments. They're really restructuring. So member services and water billing were combined into one, which is now member resources. We feel that that's going to be able to provide better customer service to our members going forward. It's not an addition of staffing, it's just combining those 2. And then you have the database team, which is maintaining all the records for the POA and the water department. Now those are some of that revenue or some of that expense is going to be allocated to the water department, but we want you to be aware of those changes. On the expense side, we're pleased to say that the Trafalgar lawsuit is behind us. I mean, it's not 100%. We have come to an agreement. The agreement is being discussed by all the lawyers involved. We hope to have the agreement signed before the end of this year and the $1 million paid out. But the good news is, by and large, it's behind us. Unfortunately, I repeated this same and didn't catch it again. But also, inflation is absolutely having an impact upon the POA.
Hey, Tom, real quick on the Trafalgar lawsuit, do they have a certain time frame that they have to be paid out by, or are we up against that being in this calendar year, or being able to go to the next?
I'll let you answer that.
No, there's not. We've asked them to speed it up. We're not in a hurry to pay $1 million, but we are in a hurry to get it finalized and signed. But no, there's no specific end date for that.
And I just assume not have it notated on the audit. Just assume, you know, and so if we get it paid off before the end of the year, it won't be on the audit. But you know, we're getting close. But we have 4 different legal firms haggling over the language. So that's not an easy thing to do to get everybody in agreement. So here's the cash flow, and so here's where the ugly numbers become apparent. So remember, we have the 21 actual, the trailing 12, the 23 budget, and then the delta, which is the comparison between the budget and the trailing 12. So you see the income is going down by $1 million, and that can be pretty much 100% explained by the sale of the cell tower. Cost of sales is also going to go up. We have increases in merchandise sales and food and beverage sales in there. So anytime you increase those two, you have expenses that are directly tied to that. The more hamburgers you sell, the more patties you have to buy. So it's directly linked. And then the operating expenses going way up. A large portion of that is payroll, and then inflation is impacting everywhere. So you see that we wind up with a negative $1.1 million. Then you go down to the allocation from water. So that's always something that can confuse some of our members. So our water department does not have any services behind it, meaning the water department does not have an accounting department. They don't have marketing. They don't have legal. They don't have anything, road repairs, any of those things. All of that is covered on the POA side. So then we allocate expenses to them. We charge them, hey, you don't have an accounting department, we're going to charge you for a portion of that, and so forth. And so that's what that $1.8 million is. And we have to go through each year and justify this dollar amount with our audit firm. So it's not just, hey, let's just pull a number out of our hat. This is actually, we have to justify that. Then we have the 23 capital projects, $1.2 million, and I'll be going through those. And then we have unfinished 22 capital projects. The biggest one in there is New Reardon. You know, we're working on that, and actually JB put together a really nice show. Absolutely, and Dave was involved there, and that's going to be available, or is available, on their website, and it's going to be available and the POA's website. So you can actually learn a lot more about the Reardon. But going back to this, we still have a number of projects that are still unfinished. We have approximately 24 projects that are not yet done. Supply chain issues, you read about those in the newspaper, it's real. We just today received a replacement vehicle for water department that we ordered 11 months ago. 11 months ago. It's crazy. So it is real. The water loan, so remember that we separate our books internally. From an external point of view, we have an audit and it's the whole thing, but internally we separate them. We have the loan that goes way back, and that's really tied to originally the Trafalgar fire, and we're making a payment of $280,000 on that. Also on the 2020 plan, we're going to continue to make that same payment of $185,000. It's gone up a little bit since last year because of the increase in the number of improved lots. Then we have the principal payment on the Reardon loan, a couple of prepaid expenses, and then we're going to draw some of the revenue, or some of our balances, some of our cash and investments to balance everything out. Fortunately, we've had a couple of good years that have allowed us to do that. So that gives us a positive
Hey,
cash
Tom,
flow.
real
Yes.
quick, can you remind everybody the total plan for the reserves, what that was, what that looks like, and why we're dedicating funds to that?
So back in when the 2020 plan was approved, we said that we were going to allocate $1 to keeping our fees lower, which we're doing. And we're going to have $4 is going to go towards capital projects. Well, Reardon Hall is a really good example of that. $2 is going to go to offset the cost of the Trafalgar fire. Well, that's going to take a while because the net cost on that was $3 million. And then $1 was going to go towards building our reserves, because our reserves, because of the Trafalgar fire, were wiped out. By the end of next year, our reserves will be at $800,000. Not as high as we'd want them, but definitely heading in the right direction. So what we've done is, that's $1 per improved property for 12 months. So it's a good formula. We used it for the 2020 plan. We're going to continue to use that same formula going forward because it just makes sense, and it's a comfortable amount of money that we can put aside into the reserves. Okay. All right, so here's the departments, and I'm going to, as I go through these departments, I'm going to really say a lot of the same stuff over and over again. And that same thing is going to be, labor is going to be up and expenses are up. You're going to hear me say that over and over again. But here's this one graph. I only have a couple graphs in here, but this is kind of a cool one. Back in 2019, we really saw, we were at about 158,000 rounds in 17, and all the way down to 19, we were about 135. And then we implemented the new fee schedule with the 2020 plan, and we've seen an immediate positive impact. Now, early on, we weren't sure if it was the 2020 plan, the new lower fees, or COVID and people staying home working and not actually working, actually playing golf. But you'll see that by and large, COVID's behind us, by and large, and we continue to grow rounds. So this is outstanding. It really is an affirmation that our fee schedule, by fixing the fee schedule, it's absolutely working, and it's being well received by our membership. And actually, if you go back, if you looked at boat registrations, if you looked at gym usage, if you looked at the tennis courts, if you looked at just about activity cards, it's the same message all the way through, that the membership really likes the fee schedule that we came up with in 2020. Activity cards, in 2019, we had 10,000 activity cards. This year we'll have 17,000. So it's the same message that the membership has embraced the 2020 plan and that fee schedule. And by having the assessment increase approved, we have the same fees for 3 more years. So that's cool. All right. So you see that revenue is going to go up a little bit for golf operations, but cost of sales is going to go up because we're going to sell more merchandise. There's the labor. A lot of that, remember, we have a lot of entry-level positions. We were down 10%. We absolutely struggled to fill those positions. A little bit up in expenses. Golf maintenance, that was impacted. So revenue, what revenue we have in golf maintenance, when we buy equipment, we're getting replacement equipment. So let's say we get a new truck to replace a high mileage one, we're going to sell that at auction, and that's the revenue that we get. We don't anticipate as much to sell this year. Labor way up, another entry level positions, very hard to fill. We're hoping to do better this year. We have a great HR department, but it's a struggle. It's an absolute struggle. Expenses, Fertilizer is 100,000 of that $150,000 increase. Just for one line item, $100,000. But that's petroleum based, and that expense has gone way up. So, food and beverage. We're anticipating revenue is going to go up by about $250,000. We're going to have a full year of operation at the Pizza Kitchen at Highland Pubs and Patio. We're going to be implementing or introducing a beefed up, a larger menu starting just in December, just in a couple of weeks. You'll see labor is going up. Once again, entry level positions, very hard to fill. And then expenses are going to go actually down a little bit because we've in the trailing 12 we had a lot of repairs and so forth. Clubhouse, this is where we have like a lot of our clubhouses are used by multiple departments, and so this is just the clubhouse. So what's included in clubhouses is this building. Lake Point is included in that, and so forth. So those are going in. Why did the expenses go down? Well, in the trailing 12, we were actually getting a lot of things repaired and fixed, and so that's why that number is favorable. One of the few numbers in this budget that are favorable. MAC, maintenance and construction. Okay, this is a different reason why revenue is going to go down. I mentioned earlier the sale of the cell tower leases. Those leases that used to be paid on a monthly basis were going to this department. We've sold that lease. We received a large payment, so now that monthly revenue is going away, and so that's why it went way down. What's remaining in there is items that we'll sell in the auction, the $7,500. This department is definitely being impacted by the wage increase, the 4% increase in the COLA increase that we gave this to the employees in July, and so forth. So when you're looking at that compounded increase of 9.5%, that's how you get there. Expenses didn't go up quite as much in this department as I would have expected. They made some pretty hard cuts. Lakes and parks, revenue there is relatively flat. Most of the revenue there is boat registrations, and we're keeping the fees the same. So they might go up a little bit, but the growth that we have seen in boat registrations are in kayaks. And kayaks, we charge $15, so those can go way up, and it's not a lot of money. Motorized boat registrations, relatively flat over the last couple of years. Labor up, a lot of entry-level positions there also, and expenses. We've tried to make sure that we've included enough fish stocking in there to keep our those who fish happy. Central admin. So central admin, that's my department. I'm included in that. Beth, our CFO, is included in that. Jessica, our corporate secretary, is included in that. Labor is going down on that. We have some favorable things happen on there. And expenses, just less expenses, which is really good. General income. So general income is where all the assessment revenue goes in. So when we charge for the assessment, that's where it's going to go into the general income department. And you'll see just the progression. In 2017, we had 13,200 improved lots, and now we're over 15,000. So that's pretty impressive growth. And what's also impressive is the number of unimproved. Now, these are in good standing. These are the ones that are paying. So if you actually compare the number of paying lots compared to 16 compared to now, remember in 2016 we did not have a collection department at all. With 39,000 lots, I don't know why you wouldn't have a collections department, but we built it up, and they're very successful. So you see that back in 2017, we had 20,400, maybe a little bit more than that, of unimproved lots in good standing, and now we're over 21,800, so we're doing really well. Both those numbers going up are favorable. And so you see, but this is also, why did the revenue go down? This is where that cell tower sale is included in the trailing 12. So that decreased by $926,000, but then you have the increase from the assessment increase in the additional lots that are now paying a higher rate because they went from unimproved to improved. Labor relatively flat here, and expenses up because we've centralized a lot of our expenses. If you ever hear me talk, I am, allocating from water to the POA is one thing, but allocating between intercompany departments, I am fervently against that. I'd rather just pick a department, put it in there, as opposed to arbitrarily transferring it between one and the other. HR, with this, we'll be fully staffed the entire year. We were not fully staffed in the trailing 12. Plus, we added, we took one position from part-time to full-time. Expenses, a little bit of an increase, not too bad. Marketing. So this is one of the decisions, one of the hard decisions. If you didn't listen to us last week, one of the hard decisions that we had to make is the quarterly magazine. We've decided to discontinue that, and the monthly connections, we decided to discontinue that. The cost of postage, paper, printing, just killing us. So we had to make the hard call to eliminate that. The net savings of eliminating that was $158,000. The unfortunate thing is this included the laying off of 2 really good employees, but it was a hard decision. Digital is just the way to go. We have to modernize, and that's what we got to get done.
Hey, Tom, quick note on that. So thinking about North Star, thinking about the new application that'll be coming out, the smartphone app, and it's a bummer to miss out on an analog piece, but it doesn't mean that we're necessarily missing out on any more information. In fact, we're going to be getting information at an easier rate and a faster rate.
Absolutely. And if you recall, the board last year at this time, one of the last additions that the board made to the budget is they wanted a digital social media coordinator that was posting stuff. And so if you look at our Facebook posts, we're dramatically increased that, and the interaction and interaction with the membership and getting them to come out to events because of all the posting that we're making, it's absolutely working. So you're correct, and with North Star, we're going to be that much more engaged with our membership. So it was an unfortunate decision. I personally really like the quality of the magazine, but there's a reason why so many newspapers and magazines are going out of business.
I think it's important for people to know too that even though you laid off those 2 really good employees, that you did offer them other positions.
Yeah, we're working with them, and to be clear, we're not doing any other layoffs. This was just an isolated decision.
Okay.
A very challenging one, but an isolated decision. Legal department, so this is legal and database. So database is a new department, and it's really taking employees from multiple departments and combining them into this department. And this is just making sure that all of our data, so remember, we have 39,000 lots. We have 15,000 water customers. That's a lot of information. And if we don't have everything linked together properly, garbage in, garbage out.
Is this where North Star's costs are attributed to this area? Where would we find the North Star costs, and is it fair to say that the database team, it's essentially their baby in combination with marketing? Help us understand that.
We charge the fee for North Star to IT department. But yeah, the database is North Star. That's really North Star. But with that being said, so we have 3 individuals that are leading the charge in the North Star conversion. Roxy, who's in charge of the database team and reports to Doug. Jeffrey, which is our senior accountant, is that what? Accounting manager, and reports to Beth. And then Ray, who's our IT guru, who's been with us for 20 some odd years. Those 3 are combined because it really touches those 3 departments: IT, accounting, and database. And so all 3 of them are working together to make that a reality.
Yeah, just a little side note about kind of thinking about the kayak and the boat registrations and the great numbers that have come from that, and thinking about some of the hassle that also is included with going through the process of getting your stickers and paying and all that stuff, and how many sales we actually lose because of that. It's going to be great to kind of see those numbers, I believe, will continue to rise with this enhanced technological.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And so the legal, you see on the revenue side, we mentioned earlier, that's all lot sales. So here's the challenge is we can go quite a bit up on the number of rounds of golf, but we lose $500,000 in golf in lot sales. And that just like, whoa, you know, you run really hard and get nowhere. Accounting department, revenue from there is from collections, because collections, we have an internal way of divvying up delinquent accounts where accounting does some and legal does the other. Labor-wise, this department was really impacted with a lot of vacant positions. You know, every company is headhunting for accountants, and we were short on positions for an extended period of time. Member resources. So here's another big decision that was announced last week is, you know, at the same time that the board decided to move forward with the renovation of New Reardon, we also made the decision to move forward with the construction of with a single site member resources building with drive-through capability. We really felt that was going to be a great improvement to member services, but the costs were just going out the window. On new construction, it was way too much, so we decided to delay that until 24. It was a hard decision, but when you look at all the negative numbers that I've talked about, we had to make some really hard calls. Even though we really felt passionate about that, we're still going to have one department, but it's going to be at 2 locations. So, and you see the labor there. So the labor here is going up because this is a combination of member services, which is on the POA side, plus we've taken employees from water billing that was previously charged to the water department. They're now part of member resources because we want it so when you go in and let's say you're a brand new member, you want to sign up for your water service and get a golf membership and register your boat, you talk to one person. Boom, boom, boom. Right now you got to talk to multiple people. We want to one person make it simpler. So a portion of this revenue or this expense is going to be allocated to water, because a lot of the work that they do is for water, but we want to have an integrated department. And Shelley and Mary have done a great job, and Carmen also, of integrating that department into one. And then the IT department, and you'll see that, so you see their labor went up. We added an additional person, Aaron. He's been doing a really great job with all the stuff that we're doing. All the computers-oriented stuff that we're doing, we needed that additional assistance. But on the expense side, some of that is North Star, because North Star, we were not charged this last year for North Star. We're going to be charged going forward.
And Tom, didn't the IT department also have a new expense in order to be more compatible with the new Windows operating systems? We have to bring all of our new
That's
servers
part of it,
online.
and also cybersecurity. A lot of cybersecurity in there because we don't want to get ransomed. So we're beefing up expenses on there. Recreation, revenue is going down there because New Reardon is being closed for the entire year, so we're not going to have any of that revenue that we got from that area. Labor is actually going up, but it's not going up nearly as much as you would expect compared to all the other departments, because we're not going to have those employees at Reardon while we're closed. Same story when it comes to expenses, so that's what's going on there. All right, so here's we saw this earlier. This is all the departments brought together. The POA without the water department. And then here's the capital. At last week's meeting, I went through these in a lot more detail. I'll kind of fly through these, but Lake Point had the 5-year anniversary. We need new carpeting. I call it the runway, which is the hallway you go to the bathroom, and that's where the servers deliver the food, and everybody goes to the bathroom, and it's shot. We need an outdoor walk-in freezer for the country club because we're so busy here at BV Bar and Grill that we'll get orders in on Friday, but by Sunday we're running out of French fries, and that's never a good thing. Architectural and engineering this is really Papa Mike's, the taking over of Papa Mike's, getting prepared for that and renovating that building. Green's top dressing unit, this is a replacement, 5 pump stabilization. So this is a lot of money. So we have one pump that services all of the country club, and that's that building when you're going over the bridge that is under construction. That's that building that gets hammered during the flooding, and we have to stabilize that. We can't lose that because it's our only pump. So God forbid we have a flood in the middle of the summer, lose that pump, and it's the middle of summer and it's super hot, we're losing greens. New asphalt for the service road. This is at the country club, and we're partnering. The wastewater is paying for some of it. Cooper is paying for some of it, and so we're joint venturing on that. Miscellaneous cart path repair at Highlands, paving the area out front of Scottsdale. That area has been patched and patched and patched, and it's just an absolute trip hazard. Architectural and engineering work for Tanyard Creek Practice Center. We do 65,000 buckets of balls a year at that location, and it's seen better days. It's had 3 renovations over the years, and it's just, I don't think any one of the renovations was really well done. FF&E, when we open up New Reardon, that's FF&E is furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Focus there on his equipment. We're going to have a fitness center that's double the size of the current one. So the equipment's going to be cardio equipment, weights, all that kind of stuff. Playground, we need to renovate the playground at Kingsdale. This is phase one of a 2-phase project. We're going to have to spend probably $110,000 next year on additional equipment. This is our largest and most used location. We really wanted to get the whole thing done at one time, but that was one of the cuts we had to make. Out front rotary mowers, replacement truck, fertilizer storage replacement, Norwood Dam paving. We needed to get that done. Court resurfacing. Now this is the resurfacing. This is filling the cracks. It's not the whole. This is not the whole enchilada where we go in and grind up and completely redo. That's about a $200,000 job. This is a lot less. This will give us a couple years, but it's not a whole redo. BV Heights road paving. Those roads are owned by the POA. BV Heights is not part of the city, so we have to privately fund those. Signage replacement, these are all the small signs that are falling apart by the side of the road. Use courier van to replace an existing one, high mileage. Storage for IT, alarm system, and an additional aquaculture pond for the fisheries department. So a lot of stuff. Also, we have a $280,000 payment towards the water loan. The estimated balance at the end of the year will be $2 million, and then $185,000 towards reserves. So the balance at the end of the 23 will be $810,000. And there's the cash flow. We've seen that before. And then the water department, revenue is going up. While we do anticipate we'll have a slowdown in construction of new homes in 23, we have, I referenced earlier that 530 new homes. Well, a lot of those are barely in the trailing 12. If the home was just completed, it's not going to be in the trailing 12, but 12 months worth will be in the budget. So there's that delay. So they got their CO in January. Well, it's only about 6 months in the trailing 12, and so forth. So that's a delay effect. We will have some new new homes built, which will have the water buy-in fee in there. Cost of sales, both suppliers of water are increasing their fees. We are absorbing that. We're not transferring that to our membership. We're going to absorb 100% of that. Fortunately for us, the lower of the two increases is where we get 70% of our water. So could have been the reverse, which would have been bad. So really, some of that increase in the cost of sales is tied to additional homes, and a lot of that is the rate increase. Labor, relatively flat. Why is it flat? Well, we transferred a lot of those employees to member resources, to database, so that's why that's relatively flat. Expenses, we transferred some expenses to member resources and database, but also they've done a really good job, and they don't have some reoccurring expenses like some studies that they had to do included in the trailing 12. Studies, consultant studies. So their capital is a little more boring. So we have $550,000 in water line replacement. We have to do at least that much every year. Remember that we have 560 miles worth of water lines in the community. Some backhoes, dump trucks, bulk water station, variable frequency drives, and so forth, tank mixers, asphalt hot box, really wonderful, thrilling stuff, but you got to do it because it's a water utility with over 15,000 customers. So, and then they're going to have, this is great news if you are not aware of this, the bond that we've had for years and years, earlier this year we paid off 100% of that, so we don't have any bond expense, no interest expense going forward, so that's great. And then the water loan, the reverse side of that, the $280,000 payment will actually benefit the water department. And so there's the cash flow. You'll see the allocations. That's the reverse of what we talked about earlier. Then we have the capital projects for 23, the unfinished projects of 22, the water payment, which is a benefit to the water department. And then I like the zero, I left that in there. Subtract water bond obligations, zero, nothing at all. So that's really good. So that's a positive cash flow of $418,000.
Hey Tom, does the water department have their own reserves for emergencies? And if so, where is that located in these?
It's not on here yet. What we're talking about doing is taking $1 million and putting it into reserves. But we're also talking about adding to that because if you remember when Charlie, who's in charge, our director in charge of water, one of the things that's heading our way probably 4 to 5 years from now is we're going to have to build a new water tank out on the west side. Because we're growing so much on the west side, we need additional capacity. So what we're talking about is having 2 reserve funds, one for emergencies of $1 million, and that was included in the 5-year strategic plan. And then the second one is we'd probably put in $500 or $1 million every year to build that balance so that when we have the big bill 3 or 4 or 5 years from now when we build that water tower, and we're talking probably, I think Charlie said, a $4 million water tower. So I'd like to put money aside so we're not sticker shocked 4 years from now.
Who is the 30% of the water allocation coming from? Is that Centerton or Hiawassee?
Yeah, 2 ton, yeah. All right. Now, also included in your board packet is the fee schedule. So, nice colorful fee schedule. The only changes you're gonna notate in here is if you look under golf and if you look under non-member, you see guest and non-member, we've taken the 18-hole non-member green fee from 52 to 55. The 9-hole is up by $2. The Twilight and Super Twilight are up by $1 each. Daryl did a competitive market analysis. We feel comfortable that the market can sustain that, and that we won't be cutting our throat. It's, you know, it's really easy to raise rates, but if you kill utilization, then you're not going anywhere. Other than that, all the rates are the same compared to last year and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. Now, the one thing that I would like to point out, because I want to make sure that sometimes there's some confusion about this. So when we go back to the 2020 plan, and we also talk about the 3-for-3 plan, you know, what is included in that and what is not included in that. So specifically with the 3-for-3, we said that the annual AGGF memberships, the primary and secondary, those stay the same for the 3-year commitment. The green fees for members, activity card and members with just a member card, those stay the same. The 10-play prepay stays the same. Green fees without seat leases stays the same. Annual boat registrations, boat mooring stays the same. Activity cards, fitness, all those stay the same for 3 years. That's part of the 3-for-3 plan. But what's not included and was never included in the 2020 plan and was not included in the 3-for-3 is RV storage, watercraft rentals, RV camping, fitness classes, utility fees, and any other fees that are not covered on the fee schedule. And what are those like? You know, okay, so you have a wedding and you go to Lake Point. Well, that fee is not included in the fee schedule, so forth. So we're not planning on changing the RV storage fees or the watercraft rentals. You can see all those on the 23 fee schedule, but we could, but we're not going to. So does that mean in 24 we will raise these rates? Possibly. I don't know. It's a long way away. But I just want to make sure that there's a, you know, I wanted to kind of get it down for the record, because people will say, well, the 3-for-3, there's no increase in anything ever. Well, no. We may have to increase water fees next year. It's possible. We hope not to. We haven't increased our water fees in 10 years, which is outstanding. It's possible we may have to. We just want to make sure that people understand that. So I'm kind of just, you know, making sure that the membership understands that difference, and so that's why I put that in such great detail.
That's good.
That's it. And I think I went over the 10-minute mark by a long shot.
Yeah, I think maybe 10 minutes was a little optimistic. I should mention that Jan Sims has been able to join us on Zoom, so she's with us now. First thing I need is a motion to approve the operating, capital, and cash flow budgets. Jan Hagan?
I make a motion approving the operating, capital, and, excuse me, I'm sorry. I make a motion approving the operating, capital, and cash flow budgets for 2023.
Thank you. I have a second on that? Jerry seconds that. Is there any discussion? I know we've talked about this for quite a while.
I
JB?
think we've talked about this for about 3 weeks, and I think I have it memorized pretty much.
You know what, and I'm gonna, Jason mentioned this, the membership received the board members received the budget on November 31st, on October 31st, sorry. On November 3rd, the board met with each of the department heads, and each of the department heads had to justify and fight for their budget. So that was an 8-hour meeting. And then we've had emails back and forth in the last 2 weeks, and then we presented to the community. So this is, the board has put a lot of time into this whole process.
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had a member ask me a question and I want to make sure that I answered it correctly. Our employees do not receive an automatic cost of living increase every year. Is that correct?
No, they do not. If you notice, this is a 4% merit increase. I am a firm believer that we want to reward our all-stars, and people that are staff members that are struggling may get less than 4%, may get 3%, may get 0%, depending upon their performance. So this is merit oriented. We have not. We did not always give an increase of this level. Actually, we haven't given this. Last year it was 3%, and I think the year before that was 3% of merit.
So it's up to.
Up
You have to
to. We have a budget of 4%.
Right, on
So
merit.
it must, on average, so if one employee gets 5 and another employee gets 3, then we're at 4.
Sandy, you referenced the COLA increase. We did have the COLA increase mid-year. Tom referenced that it was only impacted for a couple of months on the trailing 12. And in my experience, that's the first true COLA that's ever been enacted. Other than that, it's been merit-based every year. Is that correct, or am I
I
mistaken?
think one of the increases that we gave a couple years ago, we split between part of it was COLA and part of it was merit, but it was a couple years ago. But in recent history, it has always been merit.
Yeah.
So I would say yes, but I don't want anybody to get technical and go, well, remember 2 years ago? By
Yeah.
and large, yes.
So, if Sandy has a member who's asked her about the COLA, because we did have a COLA this year, but that's an extraordinary event. It was discussed for a long time. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? I will call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the operating, capital, and cash flow budgets, please signify by raising your hand or saying aye. 9-0. It is approved. Now, we will have, can I have a motion to approve the 2023 fee schedule?
Sure.
Jason,
I'll make the motion to approve the 2023 fee schedule.
thank you. Mike Abb is a second on that one. Is there any discussion on that? Pretty hard to change it after the budget is determined.
It's more of a housekeeping thing.
Okay, all those in favor of the fee schedule? 9-0. Thank you very much.
The last item, we have, 4 policies. So just for those at home, reiterate, when policy changes are discussed or considered by the board, it starts at a Rules and Regulations Committee 2 months ago. It then is forwarded to the board at a work session, and then at a regular session, they vote on it, and then it goes again to the Rules and Regulations Committee, then to the work session, and then to a regular meeting for a second time for a second vote. And so right now you're looking at that second vote. So this is 6 meetings in. And so if the board decides to not discuss this, it wouldn't shock me, because this is now the 6th time they've seen it.
More than the budget.
More.
Okay, the first one up is Policy 101. Can I have a motion to approve that on the second reading?
Yeah, I'll make a motion approving the proposed changes to policy 1.01, establishing and changing or rescinding policies.
This is the second of 2 required votes.
Thank you, Jerry.
I wish he had control of that.
Jason seconds that. Yes. Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, second reading? It's approved, 9-0. Can I have a motion on 1.03? Jan?
I make a motion approving the proposed changes to policy 1.03, guidelines for association committees. This is the second of 2 required votes.
Thank you. Second on that one from Mike. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Can I have them? That's 9-0. In case you didn't get it counted quick. Next up is policy 1.03.1, audit committee. Can I have a motion on that one? JB?
I hit the button. I make a motion approving the proposed changes to policy 1.03,
Point 1.
audit committee. This is the second of 2 required votes.
Thank you very much. Second, Jan Hagan. Discussion? Let's go and vote. 9-0. And the last of the 4 for today is 1.03.2.
Make a motion approving the proposed change to policy 1.03.2, guidelines for function of election committee. This is the second of 2 required votes.
Thank you, Jason. Jerry Barron is a second on that. Any discussion on that one? All those in favor? 9-0. Thank you very much. That brings us to the part of the meeting where I get to read about all the meetings that we're having and not having. As we noted earlier, the Lakes JAC meeting is Wednesday, November 30th at 2 p.m. in the boardroom. Rules and Regulation meeting Thursday, December 1st, 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. That one is available live stream, as is the Lakes JAC. The Board of Directors GM meeting will follow the Rules and Regulations meeting at 2:30 here in the boardroom. That is a closed meeting. The Board of Directors work session Thursday, December 8th at 9 a.m. in the boardroom and live stream. And the Golf JAC meeting is Wednesday, December 14th at 4 p.m. in the boardroom here at the Country Club and live stream. The regular monthly meeting, the last one of the year, is December 15th, 6 p.m. here in the boardroom and live stream. So that concludes our work for today. Is there anything else? Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. Please turn off your microphone.